When it comes to Sonic Generations, people are usually more inclined to replay the boost stages over the classic stages. But why is this the case? And are they actually more underrated than people give them credit for? Well, today I'm determining whether or not Classic Sonic's gameplay in Generations is really as bad as people say. But before we get into the main question, first we gotta figure out why people like him less than modern Sonic in the first place. Now, I already mentioned a good theory in my video about Sonic's different playable characters, so you can check that out if you want, but if not, I'll quickly summarize it here. Basically, the perfect alternate gameplay style has a good balance between familiarity and novelty. The classic games are a great example of this. They add familiarity in the fact that every other character controls exactly the same as Sonic, but the novelty in the fact that they all have their own unique abilities. Now, classic Sonic in Generations doesn't really fit these criteria. His gameplay is too different from modern Sonic, and he also lacks most of the abilities that made him so fun in the first place. The boost, homing attack, slide, stomp, tricks, and basically all of the 3D exclusive moves are missing for the classic gameplay, although I'm not really bringing anything else to replace it besides the spin dash. And I think this lack of multiple abilities is completely detrimental to people's enjoyment of the game.
But Luke, if classic Sonic is so bad, what's the point of this video?
See that guy? You wanna end up like him? While there are a lot of valid reasons for people to prefer modern Sonic, that doesn't mean classic Sonic is all bad. In fact, I'd argue classic Sonic is one of the more underrated gameplay styles in the series. So then, what makes me say that classic Sonic is underrated? Well, it mostly comes down to the level design. Because if there's one thing Generations pulled off well, it's absolutely gotta be the way the stages are designed. For modern Sonic, this means making enjoyable 3D boost levels, but for classic, this means reimagining the classic gameplay style into 3D. And the way they go about doing this is actually really clever. The best way I can describe it is by looking at a specific level. So let's go through Sky Sanctuary and take a look at what I mean. Now, the first section of this level is actually quite standard. This is what we're used to, simply moving from left to right pretty linearly. But this is where it's gonna start to become a bit more interesting. You take this upper route and... What?! This, in my opinion, is classic Sonic's greatest strength. Not being limited to one dimension. This stage is a great example of this, because there's a bunch of twists and turns that get taken advantage of here. Being able to see the other routes in the background not only adds more exploration, but also replay value. And this absolutely carries his gameplay, in my opinion. It's not just Sky Sanctuary either. Stages like Speed Highway, City Escape, and even Seaside Hill take advantage of the 3D extremely well, with different elements that swap between the foreground and background. It makes for a much more dynamic stage than something like Sonic Forces, where it's literally just a straight line. I've never seen a game stick to a gag this religiously. Another thing these stages do really well is integrate the level design into the stages itself. A common issue with the immersion of Sonic games is that it's hard to tell that what's over there is also over here. But in Generations, they completely got rid of this issue. And then keep this fix, but it's still here. Look at Speed Highway, for instance. You're in the middle of all of these buildings and also running on highways, both of which can be seen in the background and even interacted with at times. It really makes for a stage that feels alive, like this is actually a world that's lived in. Crisis City is another great example of this. Look at this. Every platform and enemy is integrated in the stage and has a reason to be there. Let's compare this to something like Forces, where the ground is moving up and down for some reason. There's really no environmental motivation for these blocks to move up and down like that. Are they alive? Or are they just moving up and down because this is a video game and it needs video game obstacles to platform over? So now for the big question. Is classic Sonic's gameplay in Generations really underrated? Well, yeah, I definitely think it is. Whilst controls may take a little getting used to, the level design completely carries it and turns it into a gameplay style that's well worth replaying. His gameplay in Generations isn't just a great execution of the classic gameplay style, but it also enhances it to make for an even better experience. It definitely goes underappreciated, and hey, showing some appreciation for something can't hurt. Which is why you should watch more of my videos. I want to feel appreciated.